The morning sun crept across the marble floor of the Maduka's mansion like a thief, stealing warmth where her heart had long gone cold. The house was vast and glittering, was silent, too silent for a home that was built with love and gold. Every tick of the antique clock echoed like a taunt, reminding the occupants of time, of the wound that betrayed the motherhood of the house, and of the prayers that went unanswered. She stood before the mirror, draped in silk, looking beautiful yet hollow-eyed. Beauty meant nothing anymore to Mrs. Maduka. What use was beauty when emptiness slept beside her every night? Her husband, Charles Maduka, was a man the world openly envied his success. A billionaire industrialist, sharp, charismatic, and a conqueror in boardrooms and charity galas alike. To everyone else, they were perfection, a perfect couple, but was short of what it took to be called a perfect family. And in private, their marriage was a mausoleum, lavish, lifeless, and echoing with the ghosts of unborn children that existed prominently only in wishes. Every month Katia counted days. Every circle ended in tears. She had seen doctors, priests, healers, prophets, all with similar and funny verdicts. In summary, her womb was a desert. And so, one quiet evening, while watching her reflection fade into the window's dark glass, an unholy thought crept into her mind. That was the night Zara entered her destiny. An innocent destiny was toppled. Zara was a beauty and innocent young girl from another world. She was young, lithe, and radiant with innocence. She had arrived from a remote town in northern Nigeria, seeking work to help her ailing mother. She was a diamond in its rough. Katia remembered the first day she saw Zara, her head bowed, voice soft as rain with undisguised humble respect, written all over her. There was something disarmingly pure about her, the kind of purity that made you wish that you had maintained yours from childhood, instead of yielding to the deceptive and wicked world. Within weeks of her employment as a maid in the mansion, Zara became the soul of the mansion. Her laughter, presence and activities returned life to the walls of the house, and her songs softening the air. Even Charles, who was usually lost in business calls, couldn't help but notice her presence. He would watch her in brief moments, how she moved, how she smiled, how her laughter carried light and melts the heart. And Katia saw it all and appreciated it all. At first, jealousy burned in her, but later, a strange, desperate idea took root in Katia. What if the universe had sent Zara, not as a threat, but as an answer to her prayers? That night, Katia waited until Charles had gone to bed before she slipped into the guest room where she met Zara kneeling and folding laundry. "Zara," she began, her voice trembling, as Zara respectfully greeted her as usual. After which, Katia went straight to the point with her mind, completely cluttered with uncertainty. How far would you go to help someone who saved your life? Or someone that you love so much and care so much about? Zara looked up, her eyes wide. "Madam, I don't understand, but I will do anything, as long as it doesn't kill me or kill someone else." Katia knelt beside her, a billionaire's wife, kneeling before her maid. "Zara, you are the only one I can trust. I can't have a child, and by now, you may have guessed or suspected. I've tried everything humanly possible that I have been advised to do. My husband deserves a family, an heir that will inherit and take over his company when he becomes old and weak. I am sure that you understand. But I cannot get pregnant and give him a child of his own blood." Zara froze. "What I'm asking of you," Katia continued, "is madness. But I'll give you the world if you say yes. Anything you want." The silence that followed could have broken glass. Zara's lips trembled. "Madam, you mean, me?" Katia nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Yes. You." At first, Zara refused. She was young, naive, terrified. But Katia was relentless, persuading, pleading, painting the act as mercy, not betrayal. She promised a new life, a future for Zara's mother, and complete secrecy. And one night, with shame and fear wrapped around her like a shroud, Zara surrendered. The mansion became a stage of sin disguised as sacrifice. Weeks passed. The world outside continued its loud dance, while inside the house, a quiet storm brewed. Zara grew distant. Katia smiled more, a forced, fragile smile that fooled no one. And Charles, unknowingly playing fate's cruel script, lived in blissful ignorance of the plan that had entangled his life. Then the unexpected happened. Zara missed her period. Katia was the first to know. She hugged the girl, weeping as if she'd just given birth herself. "It worked," she whispered. "Oh God, it worked." But joy is a delicate thing, it shatters easily. A month later, Charles traveled to France for a high-level investors' meeting. The morning he left, Katia kissed him on the forehead. "Come back safe, my love," she said. He smiled. "Always." By nightfall, tragedy struck. The news came in fragments: a collision, multiple casualties, private jet emergency landing, billionaire among the victims. Katia's world imploded. She screamed, fainted, prayed, cursed the heavens, all in one breath. Days turned to weeks. Charles lay in a coma, lifeless but breathing. Doctors said it was a miracle he even survived. Katia flew to France and stayed by his bedside, whispering his name every morning. "Charles, please wake up. Our child is coming. Don't leave me now." But he didn't wake. Back home, Zara's belly began to bloom. She wrote letters Katia never answered. The house grew colder, emptier. Each sunrise mocked them both, one woman waiting for her husband to return, the other carrying his child in secret. 4 months later, it happened. The call came at dawn. "Madam Maduka," the doctor said, voice trembling. "Your husband is awake." Katia dropped the phone and collapsed in tears. She didn't even wait for her private jet, she took the first commercial flight back to France. When she reached the hospital, Charles was sitting by the window, sunlight spilling over his face. She ran to him, calling his name. "Charles. My love." He turned with his eyes calm, and his expression unreadable. And then, the words she would never forget. "Who are you?" Katia froze. "It's me," she whispered. "Katia. Your wife." He frowned instantly and disgustingly. "What is going on here? Do I know you from anywhere? Why are you calling me that?" Her lips trembled. "Charles, please, it's me. Look at this." She stretched out her hand and showed him her wedding ring. Then she pulled out their wedding photo in her cell phone and showed him. He examined it, then gave a cold, sharp laugh. "Nice work. You almost fooled me. Who doctored this?" She blinked. In disbelief. "Doctored? What?" "I know scams when I see them," he said, voice hard. "You people think because I'm wealthy and just came out of a coma, you can trick me. Who are you working with?" Tears streamed down her face. "Charles, no. It's me. You're my husband." But his eyes, they saw her as a stranger. Doctors called it selective retrograde amnesia, a rare form of memory loss caused by trauma. They said his mind had shut out parts of his life to protect itself. But that explanation meant nothing to Katia. How do you tell a heart to accept that the man who once kissed your soul no longer knows your name? She stayed in France for 3 more weeks, hoping his memory would return. It didn't. He refused to let her near, demanded security escorts, even threatened legal action if she persisted. Eventually, defeated, she flew back to Nigeria, alone. And then, the impossible happened. A week later, Charles's private jet landed at Lagos Airport as he returned home. His driver was already at the airport to take him home. He arrived at his mansion safely and Katia was waiting, her hope trembling in her chest. But the moment he stepped into the mansion and saw her, he stiffened. You again, in Nigeria, in my house. What are you doing here? Everyone was shocked, but Katia, who had anticipated it, calmed everyone and sent everyone away. But to her shock, Charles turned to someone else, a young pregnant woman standing a few steps aside, trembling with concern, and her hands on her growing belly, wondering what will become of her if the situation with her boss goes bad. Zara. His face softened instantly as he went over and hugged Zara. He reached for her hand and whispered the words that shattered Katia's heart into dust, "Finally, my wife." For a long moment, Katia couldn't breathe. The atmosphere in the house blurred into silence, and all she saw was her husband's hand on another woman's belly, and the way his eyes glowed when he called Zara, "my wife." Zara too froze and was taken aback, with her lips slowly parting in shock. She tried to greet him, but no sound came out. Charles turned, shielding her instinctively, as though Katia, his real wife, was the threat. "Charles," Katia said with her voice breaking into a whisper as real fear overwhelmed her. "Please, don't do this." But Charles frowned and turned to face her directly. "I told you to stay away from me. I don't know what kind of madness this is, but you won't fool me again." And with that, he led Zara away. Zara's heart was hammering, and her soul dissolving in guilt and confusion. 2 days later, the mansion gates opened and it wasn't Katia, the madam of the house, returning as usual. Instead, it was Zara, escorted by security, holding her overnight bag in Charles's hand. Katia watched from an upstairs window, her heart twisting. The man she'd begged God to save has been saved and had come back home to another woman, the woman she'd brought into their lives. When she went down to meet them, Charles looked through her as though she were invisible. "This woman should not be here," he told the guards. "Make sure of that, and if she causes trouble, call the police." The words fell like stones. Zara's eyes filled with tears and she calmly reminded herself that, if not for her pregnancy, she would have ran away from this mess. She had tried to convince Charles that Katia was his real wife, but he kept shutting her up and warning her not to be allowed to be used by Katia to scam him. "Sir, not another word," he said gently, turning to her. "You need rest. You and the baby." He guided her upstairs to their bedroom and helped her to rest comfortably. Katia fell to her knees and sobbed in prayers. The house that once bowed to her command, now squirts her as an outsider, haunted by memories she alone could remember. Every wall whispered betrayal, every corridor smelled of loss. That night, Zara sat by the window, unable to eat. Charles, grateful and kind, sat near her, speaking softly, as if they'd known each other forever. She tried to tell him the truth. "Sir, there's something I must say." He smiled faintly. "There is something that I really need you to tell me. When did you start addressing me as, sir? What has changed? You don't have to call me, sir. I told you, you're my wife. My heart knows you, even if I can't explain how." Her hands trembled. "But, it's not what you think." He took her hand. "Then tell me. Tell me how we met. I want to remember everything." She froze. She felt she lacked the wisdom to handle that moment and did not know the right thing to say. She was not sure of how much Katia had told him about her, and the words she could say may destroy Katia, the woman who once called her sister and took her as her sister. So she said nothing. Days turned into weeks. Katia roamed her mansion like a ghost. She spoke little, slept less, and prayed more. Each morning she'd hear their laughter, Charles and Zara, echoing from the balcony, soft and intimate, and servants whispered behind doors. The once perfect billionaire family was now a living scandal, as journalists began to snoop into matters that Katia had initially successfully handled and kept privately. One afternoon, she approached Charles's study, desperate for even a glance of the man she loved. He looked up, irritation flashing across his face. "Why are you still here? Haven't you humiliated yourself enough?" Her voice quivered. "Because I love you. Because this house was built with our hands. Because that woman carrying your child was my idea." He scoffed. "Your idea? Are you insane?" Katia swallowed her tears. "Yes. I must be. Only madness would make a woman bring another woman into her marriage." He stood. "Listen, lady. I don't know what game you're playing, but I'll not have you tormenting my wife." "Your wife?" she screamed, voice cracking. "She's my maid, Charles. Zara is our maid." The silence that followed was thunderous, and Zara had entered the room, trembling. "Tell him," Katia shouted. "Tell him the truth, Zara. Tell him whose idea it was." Zara's face crumpled. "Madam, please. I don't know how to tell him." Charles stepped between them protectively. "Enough. You won't come near her again." Katia's knees gave way. "You've killed me," she whispered. "Both of you." Later that night, Charles met with the family doctor privately. The doctor explained again, "Her claims might not be false, sir. Memory loss after trauma can distort emotional mapping. You might have displaced feelings, attached them to a familiar figure who was nearby before the accident." "Meaning what exactly?" Charles frowned. "Meaning, your subconscious may have connected Zara's face to your wife's role. It's rare but possible. The brain sometimes replaces emotional anchors with similar images." Charles leaned back, uneasy. "So you're saying, my wife could really be that woman?" The doctor nodded solemnly. "You may not believe her now, but your mind might come around with time. Zara couldn't sleep that night as guilt and fear burned her alive. She looked at Charles, gentle, lost, and loving her for a life she'd never lived. But she must endure all of it for the sake of her unborn child. She had nowhere to run to. Charles is the father of her child, and he is the only assurance for her unborn child. She hated the situation that she agreed to bring herself into. She thought of Katia, broken, silent, still calling her child. The next morning, she made a decision. She went to Katia's room and knelt. "Madam, I can't keep lying, please look for a way to tell him everything. I don't know what to say. I have tried to tell him everything." Katia's eyes glistened. "And destroy what little peace you have." "I already have no peace," Zara whispered. "I can't breathe knowing that he is giving me your life. I am not ready for this." Katia took her hand. "You didn't take it, Zara. I gave it away." They held each other, sobbing, mistress and maid, bound by one man's memory. That evening, thunder rolled across the Lagos sky. Zara went into labor, and Charles rushed her to the hospital, panic and devotion blazing in his eyes. Katia followed quietly behind, praying through tears. Hours later, the baby's cry pierced the storm. A boy. Charles held him, smiling, until the baby's eyes opened. Something flickered in his mind. A flash. A sound. A memory. A woman's laughter echoing in a marble hall, wearing a silk swirling dress. The scent of rose and rain became familiar. Katia. He looked up. She was standing by the door, hands trembling. For a moment, silence ruled. Then, tears filled his eyes. "Katia," he whispered. She froze. "Charles." He stepped toward her slowly, the baby in his arms. I remember you. I remember the way you laughed, the way you touched my tie before I left for work. The night you cried and said you'd never leave me." She covered her mouth, sobbing. You remember, he nodded weakly. Not everything. But enough to know I hurt you. Zara turned away, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'll go, she said softly. Katia shook her head. No. You stay. This child, he's ours, all of us. A reminder that love can break and still breathe. The three of them stood there, tangled in fate, love, guilt, and forgiveness, as lightning split the sky. And when the baby cried again, Charles whispered, that sound, it feels like home. Months later, the scandal faded into nothing and the world moved on. Zara lived in the mansion, raising the child with both parents' blessing. Charles and Katia picked up from where they left off to forgetfulness. Love returning like rain after a long drought. Sometimes, when he forgot again, she would play him their wedding song, and his eyes would light up, not always with recognition, but always with warmth. And in quiet moments, Katia would whisper to herself, some loves are not remembered, they are reborn.